Back on the osteoarthritis. Chapter 11, Osteoarthritis from 2008 by Peter Bales. Sweet toxins that destroy our joints. How AGEs lead to osteoarthritis. Rage and osteoarthritis. Okay. My knees, is that what I want to do? I want to prop my leg. All right. Sweet toxins that destroy our joints. How AGEs lead to osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritic cartilage cells are not normal in appearance. They are stimulated to become bigger in size. They also become more chemically active and start producing chemicals and enzymes that break down cartilage. Recent research has shown that an important mechanism by which normal cartilage cells become plump is by activation of a special receptor in their cell surface known as RAGE. The age-rage lock-in key complex initiates a whole series of harmful reactions in our joints that leads to decreased production of collagen, the building block protein of cartilage, and disruption of the normal three-dimensional structure of cartilage. So, to clarify, let's see if they do this. RAGE receptors are found on the surface of cartilage cells. These initiate cartilage breakdown when they bind with advanced glycation end products, AGEs. So I think RAGE basically stands for receptor of advanced glycation end product. But anyway, as described earlier, this is seen in the weak, fragile, yellowish cartilage present in osteoarthritis. Normal, healthy cartilage, on the other hand, has a pristine white-colored appearance. Causes of enlarged cartilage cells in osteoarthritis: excessive inflammation in the body, the aging process, sugar-coated proteins produced as a result of chronically elevated blood sugar levels and high incidence of metabolic syndrome. Sugar-coated proteins in osteoarthritis. We're on page 120. The modern American diet, high in sugar and unhealthy refined carbohydrates, such as white bread and pasta, results in chronically elevated blood sugar levels. People with such high blood sugar levels are in a state of prediabetes, and damaging sugar-coated AGEs, which are advanced glycation endpoints, sugar-coated proteins, accumulate in their organs. These AGEs are very resistant to the breakdown by the body and tend to accumulate and get deposited in our joints. As AGEs accumulate in joints, they damage the cartilage and cause it to deteriorate. Researchers have found elevated AGE levels in the blood and joint fluid of osteoarthritic patients. An unhealthy diet also causes acidosis, low pH, and low oxygen content in our organs. The body does not function well with a low pH and under low oxygen conditions. As a result, oxidative stress increases, which increases the number of oxygen-free radicals that damage cells and organs. In a vicious cycle, these conditions further increase the formation of AGEs. A healthy diet high in omega-3 fats and antioxidants decreases the amount of AGEs in the blood and is beneficial for joint health. The age-rage interaction directly turns on genes in cartilage cells, which results in increased inflammation, increased cellular acidity, and increased cell damage. Furthermore, suicide genes, in quotation marks, are turned on, releasing toxic chemicals that kill the cartilage cell from the inside out. When a cartilage cell dies, it stops manufacturing and replenishing the collagen framework that makes up the cartilage cushion in our joints. The cartilage cushion then begins to crumble and disintegrate, resulting in osteoarthritis. Glycated collagen results in weaker joints. As we have already seen, collagen is a three-dimensional protein that forms the backbone of cartilage. Within this cartilage backbone are located the cartilage cells, which are laced across the collagen surface in a pattern similar to stars on the canvas of an evening sky. The cartilage matrix is an organ that lacks blood vessels, lymph drainage, and nerve endings. The lymphatic system is the pipe drainage, and filtering system of the body. Because it is not present in cartilage, toxins, rust-forming compounds, and I think he uses rust as a metaphor, and acidic wastes that become built up in the body due to poor nutrition, aging, and the environmental toxins are able to accumulate there. In osteoarthritis, sugar-coated AGEs circulating in the blood are deposited in the joint and bind to collagen in the cartilage. The resulting glycated collagen has been shown in studies to be weaker, stiffer, and less resilient to stresses than collagen in normal cartilage, leading to its breakdown and the development of osteoarthritis. Stiff sugar-coated cartilage has increased levels of cartilage breakdown enzymes. It also stimulates the secretion of inflammatory substances, the cytokines, which further damage the cartilage. A cycle is thus created of increased cartilage breakdown, resulting in pain, swelling, and deformity in the joint. These are some of the mechanisms by which poor nutrition leads to cartilage breakdown and osteoarthritis. Oxidative stress stimulates RAGE receptor activation in cartilage cells. Increased oxidative stress stimulates the RAGE receptor gene to increase the production of the RAGE receptor and amplify the inflammation. It also leads to production of more hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. Hydrogen peroxide is a caustic chemical that damages cartilage cells. Hydrogen peroxide, fats in the blood, when exposed to increased sugar concentrations, become sugar-coated and oxidized. So not too much fat, guys. Wow. This oxidation of fats makes them more toxic and more inflammatory. Sugar-coated fats also interact with RAGE receptors and further propagate inflammation. Cooking at high temperatures causes the formation of AGEs. Okay, this is good stuff. One interesting finding is that food cooked at high temperatures leads to increased AGE formation. Higher cooking temperatures have also been found to increase inflammation. Research has shown that broiling meat at 437 degrees Fahrenheit, 225 degrees Celsius, and frying at 350 degrees Fahrenheit and 177 degrees Celsius results in the highest levels of AGEs. Boiling in high heat also increases the sugar coating and oxidation of common foods, thus making them more inflammatory. This is why the raw food people are like, no, stop cooking your stuff. What? Eating food with, I didn't even know boiling is bad though. Come on, boiling vegetables? That sounds so benign. Eating foods with large amounts of sugars, high glycemic load diets lead to high AGE production. And this, along with cooking foods at high temperatures, is unhealthy and accelerates the aging process. AGEs cause cartilage destruction. Recent research has shown that when AGEs build AGEs cause cartilage destruction. Recent research has shown that when AGEs build up in the blood, the risk of developing osteoarthritis is increased. Animals with osteoarthritis in their joints responded to increased amounts of AGEs by developing a more aggressive form of osteoarthritis. Other studies have shown that when cartilage cells are exposed to AGEs, they increase their number of RAGE receptors. This in turn leads to these cells producing the cartilage breakdown enzymes called MMPs. AGEs have another detrimental effect on the body. They decrease the normal functioning of the detoxifying enzymes catalase, glutathione peroxidase, and superoxide dismutase. These are the engines that drive the toxic cleanup in our cells and organs. When these enzymes do not work properly, the environment inside the cells becomes polluted with acidic wastes and oxygen-free radicals. When they malfunction in cartilage as a result of the overaccumulation of AGEs, the toxic buildup in the joint becomes excessive and causes cartilage damage. Okay. So here's the figure 11.1, rage and cartilage destruction. Increased blood sugar, increased advanced glycation endpoints called AGEs. The AGEs bind to collagen. They make collagen brownish, stiff, and brittle. And cartilage breaks down easily. So increased blood sugar increases the AGEs, which stimulates rage, the receptors, the age receptors, or the rage receptors on surface of cartilage cell. Cartilage cells become plump. Cartilage cells producing increased rusting, in quotation marks, and cartilage breakdown enzymes. Okay. Rage activates the inflammation-producing pathways. Rage receptors have the ability to bind a number of compounds from their surrounding environment. When sugar-coated AGEs activate these receptors, inflammation is increased. Hydrogen peroxide and oxygen-free radicals, which cause oxidative stress, are stimulated by rage. The increased oxidative stress environment caused by rage also activates suicide genes, as well as causing the activation of important signal relay intermediate, NFKB. Rage activation by AGEs also results in increased production of inflammatory arachidonic acid, which is the precursor of the inflammatory prostaglandins. Okay, arachidonic acid, which is prostaglandins are responsible for the swelling, pain, and redness that occurs when our joints are inflamed. Minimizing the production of arachidonic acid is important in controlling unwanted inflammation in the body. N-acetylcysteine, NAC, is an important, potent antioxidant that has the ability to reduce arachidonic acid production and can be taken as a supplement. Oh my gosh, I want to buy that. Yes, and it's also good for the liver. Okay. The rage receptor gene differs among people. Okay, N-acetylcysteine. The rage receptor gene differs among people, determining the damage caused by rage. Recent studies have shown that the gene that codes for the rage receptor is slightly different from person to person. This difference, or genetic variability, is in the form of a single nucleotide polymorphism. As discussed previously, an SNP is a small change in the sequence that forms the gene. People with one particular SNP variation are more prone than other people to experiencing an aggressive inflammatory response when exposed to high sugar content foods and sugar-coated proteins. A recently discovered SNP in the rage gene is called G8-2S. People with G8-2S SNP produce a rage receptor that is more aggressive in triggering cartilage destruction. Oh boy, I wonder if I have this. Gosh, a recently discovered SNP in the rage gene is called G8-2S. People with the G8-2S SNP produce a rage receptor that is more aggressive in triggering cartilage destruction and inflammation in the joints. This SNP triggers the production of increased levels of cartilage-degrading MMPs, and when people who have it consume an unhealthy high-sugar diet, they are more prone to developing cartilage damage. Rage affects bone. Rage has an important function in regulating normal bone turnover. When rage is activated excessively by AGEs, it overstimulates the osteoclasts that break down bone. This causes the bone changes seen in osteoarthritis, including weakened and dysfunctional bone. Osteoclasts. Conclusions. Rage activation by AGEs. Rage activation by AGEs causes cartilage cells to change appearance, becoming plumper and more active. This change results in activation of chemical processes in cartilage that leads to the excessive production of inflammatory substances, oxygen-free radicals, and cartilage breakdown enzymes. Cartilage cell enlargement is analogous to fat cell enlargement seen. Cartilage cell enlargement is analogous to fat cell enlargement seen in obesity, prediabetes, and metabolic syndrome. Increased inflammation, acidity, and rusting all occur, rusting in quotation marks, conspiring to cause cartilage damage in osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritic cartilage has increased levels of both RAGE receptors and MMPs. Increased oxidative stress leads to cartilage damage. AGEs stimulate the RAGE receptor, leading to increased oxidative stress. Chronically elevated blood sugar, as seen in people with prediabetes and metabolic syndrome, activates the RAGE receptors. Collagen, the building block of cartilage, combines with AGEs and other acidic wastes. Whew. Wow. This weakens the collagen and causes it to collapse under normal everyday stresses. This leads to cartilage destruction in our joints. DNA can undergo sugar coating as a result of chronically excessive blood sugar levels. This causes DNA to malfunction and genes are not appropriately activated and deactivated. Chronically elevated systemic inflammation directly affects our genes. Inflammation turns on genes that cause cartilage cells to become plump and overproduce cartilage-degrading chemicals and enzymes. Increased sugar consumption in our diet leads to activation of NF-κB signal intermediate relay station, causing increased production of free radicals and rust. These toxins trigger further inflammatory genes to be turned on and produce MMPs. This is a powerful example of how our diet affects our genes and leads to cartilage destruction in osteoarthritis. Improving our diet with foods low in sugar and high in antioxidants and omega-3 fats decreases age production and helps keep our cartilage healthy. A high sugar diet directly affects the size and shape of cartilage cells through the formation of AGEs and their interaction with the RAGE receptors. This is a very powerful concept that links diet, its effects on altering the body's metabolism, and the development of osteoarthritis. Okay, shall we keep going? Oh, I want some fresh coffee. Oh, yeah. Why it is not a good idea to treat osteoarthritis with drugs. What is the problem with drugs? Okay. Woo! Osteoarthritis book by Peter Bales, 2008. This is so good, and if he's still around, there are like a million Peter Bales on the internet. I've tried to look him up. He might be an historian. There is a Peter Bales here, but this Peter Bales from UC Davis, oh my gosh, I would love to talk to him now and be like, give me the last 18 years of osteoarthritis science, because what comes after this? Because this is, to me, like nobody's still telling me this other than him. Why it is not a good idea to treat. Okay. There are many complex biochemical reactions involved in maintaining normal cartilage health in our joints. From my professional experience with the numerous drugs used in the treatment of osteoarthritis, it is unlikely that any drug that uses a single bullet approach to attacking a particular chemical reaction in cartilage cells will lead to a cure for arthritis. One of the problems with using drugs to treat osteoarthritis, is that they target complex pathways in the body that, when blocked in different organ systems by the drug, are likely to lead to side effects. Furthermore, they are unable to affect the underlying causes of osteoarthritis. The drugs currently used to treat osteoarthritis, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, steroid injections, and painkillers, do nothing to alter the course of the disease or provide a cure. They are effective in treating pain symptoms, but at a heavy price. Even though drugs cannot cure arthritis because they block chemical reactions across many different organs in the body, they can have detrimental effects in organs other than the target organ they are intended to affect. These unwanted side effects are the reason drug interactions are a leading cause of death and toxicity in this country. The popular non-steroidal drugs and their side effects. I'm completely worried I'm going to knock that over. It's going to drive me crazy. An example of unwanted drug consequences is found in the case of the popular non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, the COX-2 inhibitors. Those include Vioxx and Bextra, which were recently, and this is 2008, pulled off the market. Vioxx and Bextra were beneficial in the treatment of pain and inflammation in arthritis by blocking the formation of inflammatory prostaglandins in the arachidonic acid pathway. While these drugs were never shown to be able to cure or reverse osteoarthritis, they did have side effects in other organs. The enzyme they block, COX-2, is found in many other organ systems in the body, and while blocking it helped arthritic pain, it had detrimental effects on the heart. The removal of these once very popular arthritic drugs from the market is more evidence of the need for a fresh approach when attacking complex degenerative diseases, such as osteoarthritis. We must develop a more holistic approach in treating this disease by employing nutritional and nutraceutical strategies that do not have the dangerous side effects of non-steroidal drugs. Why are anti-inflammatory drugs dangerous to cartilage in our joints? The interest in using nutritional methods to combat osteoarthritis is born out of physicians' and patients' experiences with the widely used non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Non-steroidals currently play a major role in the treatment of osteoarthritis. They act by blocking the arachidonic acid pathway and thus decreasing the synthesis of inflammatory prostaglandins. This approach is associated with unwanted side effects because prostaglandins are involved in complex pathways that have positive as well as negative effects on joint cartilage and other organs. While the short-term use of the drugs is appropriate and has beneficial effects in decreasing the pain and inflammation associated with osteoarthritis, they have never been proven in scientific research studies to have any disease-modifying benefits. Aspirin is widely used for pain relief in osteoarthritic patients. Aspirin inhibits the enzymes involved in early stages of cartilage manufacturing. This is a drawback to aspirin use. Several nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories also suppress the synthesis of the proteoglycans that make up the cartilage backbone. The depletion of these important cartilage subunits is a major reason nonsteroidals can be toxic to the already damaged joint cartilage found in patients with osteoarthritis. And oh my gosh, I wish somebody told me this like 30 years ago. In one scientific study, researchers studied 13 different nonsteroidal drugs available in the market for use with osteoarthritis and compared their effects on cartilage cells. Arthritic cartilage is more prone than normal cartilage to damage from nonsteroidals because diseased cartilage cells do not function well and accumulate the drug, amplifying the side effects. Please refer back to the discussion in Chapter 1. Okay, I will do it. Chapter 1, cartilage and its role in osteoarthritis. The whole discussion. Maybe he means the whole Chapter 1. He doesn't mean the conclusions. Cartilage is susceptible to damage from environmental toxins. Anatomy of a cartilage cell, cell membrane, nucleus, synovial fluid, free radicals, prostaglandins, hormones, inflammatory and degrading cycle of osteoarthritic cartilage breakdown. Cell produces inflammatory prostaglandins, cartilage breakdown enzymes, nitric oxide, sends signal to cartilage cells. Signal is transferred to nucleus where DNA is present. Hormonal imbalance, inflammatory products, oxygen-free radicals. Okay. All right. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are responsible for significant complications. Each year, more than 100,000 people are admitted to hospitals as a result of gastrointestinal complications brought on by nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory use. Of those, 15%, mostly elderly, die from their gastrointestinal problems. That is a total of about 16,500 deaths per year in the United States caused by complications from properly prescribed and properly taken nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories. In patients greater than 65 years of age, researchers have shown that up to 30% of hospital admissions and deaths from nonsteroidal drug complications are the result of stomach ulcers. This is because the drugs block the COX-1 enzyme, which is present in stomach cells, as well as cartilage cells in joints. Blocking this enzyme in the stomach is bad, as it results in the development of ulcers. In the remainder of Chapter 1, I will discuss the risks associated with newer classes of drugs that are currently either being developed or already in use. This discussion will make clear that nutritional and nutraceutical treatment of osteoarthritis is a much safer approach. Drugs have a proper place in the treatment of advanced osteoarthritis when they are used for short periods of time, but they should not be the first and last line of attack, as is currently the standard of practice. PPAR activators and NF-κB inhibitors. Pharmaceutical companies are developing drugs to manipulate the NF-κB and PPAR pathways described earlier in this book. NF-κB is the inflammatory compound that is the signal intermediate for many of the inflammatory and cartilage breakdown chemicals generated in osteoarthritis. PPAR receptors are beneficial receptors that block the action of NF-κB and thus generate anti-inflammatory signals sent to the cell's DNA. Recent efforts to develop PPAR activators, which are laboratory manufactured drugs intended to stimulate the PPAR receptor, have resulted in the production of drugs that have been shown to produce significant liver damage. Rather than using these new drugs, which have been found to be toxic, the approach I am recommending is to activate the PPAR receptors with proper nutrition and the use of safe nutraceuticals. The omega-3 fats, EPA and DHA, Two active ingredients in fish oils are potent PPAR receptor activators. They do not have the side effects of drugs, and they can be purchased over the counter. There are biologically active plant compounds in such vegetables as broccoli and kale, yay, that have been shown to stimulate PPAR gamma receptors. They have beneficial effects on lowering blood sugar and blood lipid levels without the side effects of drugs. Plant nutritional substances can be taken in concentrated supplement form and are found in most health food stores. It is wise to use well-known brands from large reputable manufacturers. Steroids, which were developed in the 1950s, act in part by blocking the damaging action of NF-κB and preventing cells from manufacturing inflammatory and toxic compounds that lead to oxidative stress. Unfortunately, steroids also have dangerous side effects. While they are effective in decreasing the pain and inflammation of osteoarthritis, they do not alter the course of the disease. Given in large doses and for prolonged periods of time, steroids accelerate the progression of arthritis by promoting cartilage deterioration. The PPAR and NF-κB systems in the body are very complex, and their receptors behave differently in different organs and under different chemical conditions. This is why it is dangerous to try to influence these systems with the use of laboratory manufactured drugs, which have blanket effect on all receptors in all organs of the body. Because of their potency and non-selectivity, drugs lead to side effects in unintended organs. MMP inhibitors. Matrix metalloproteinases are important cartilage-degrading enzymes that are overproduced and are overactive in osteoarthritis, causing much of the cartilage destruction seen in this disease. The pharmaceutical industry is attempting to find laboratory manufactured drugs to block the production of these cartilage-degrading enzymes. The danger in this approach lies in the fact that MMPs are needed in optimal levels for the normal housekeeping functions, not just in cartilage, but in connective tissues in other organs of the body. The assembly and remodeling of the three-dimensional cartilage matrix by cartilage cells are aided by the proper functioning of a very important MMP, MMP13. Researchers have shown that mice are deficient in MMP13 to exhibit defective bone development, abnormal skeleton growth, and deformities. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go back. Pay attention. Okay. Matrix metalloproteinases, MMP. Matrix metalloproteinases are important cartilage-degrading enzymes that are overproduced and overactive in osteoarthritis, causing much of the cartilage destruction seen in this disease. Okay, so we need to figure out how to turn them off. The pharmaceutical industry is attempting to find laboratory manufactured drugs to block the production of these cartilage degrading enzymes. The danger in this approach lies in the fact that matrix metalloproteinases are needed in optimal levels for normal housekeeping functions, not just in cartilage, but in connective tissues and other organs in the body. The assembly and remodeling of the three-dimensional cartilage matrix by cartilage cells are aided by the proper functioning of very important MMP, MMP13. Researchers have shown that mice that are deficient in MMP13 exhibit defective bone development, abnormal skeleton growth, and deformities. Other researchers have shown that when the MMP13 gene was experimentally removed from the DNA of mice, they developed deadly clots in their blood vessels, similar to those seen in people having heart attacks. These MMP13 deficient mice had thinner and less well-organized collagen on the walls and in the plaque of their vessels. Oh, 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 oh. Vessels can accumulate sludge called plaque, which is the culprit in blocking blood flow, leading to strokes and heart attacks. One interesting finding was that the plaque in the vessel walls of these mice was itself weak as a result of the defective collagen caused by the gene defect. Huh. These plaques made of weak collagen break off more easily. This is why these mice had higher numbers of deadly heart attacks and other clotting events. Ooh. Ooh. The above studies highlight the fact that an across the board drug blockade of these enzymes is likely to disrupt the normal function and maintenance of bone and blood vessels, leading to unwanted side effects. Used in humans, a drug that blocks MMP13 production will have similar effects to those seen in the mice described above. The indiscriminate action of drugs through their blanket effect on particular enzyme system across many different organs in the body is often accompanied by dangerous side effects. MMP inhibitor drugs are toxic. All the MMP inhibitor drugs tested thus far in clinical trials have been found to promote toxicity in major organ systems. The Wow, okay. The antibiotic doxycycline is the only MMP inhibitor that has been used without short-term toxicity. The long-term effects of doxycycline are unknown, as antibiotics have toxic effects on the gastrointestinal tract by killing off beneficial bacteria. Attempts are being made to modify doxycycline and make it more stomach-friendly while still preserving its ability to block MMPs. TNF alpha and IL-1 blocking agents. TNF alpha and IL-1 are the inflammatory toxic cytokines that play an important role in the destruction of cartilage in osteoarthritis. TNF alpha and IL-1 blocking drugs are currently being used to treat rheumatoid arthritis. Recent follow-up studies done on these drugs have been released, showing that rheumatoid arthritis patients treated with these drugs have increased susceptibility to developing opportunistic lung infections and cancer. This is the result of the adverse effects these drugs have on the immune system. In 2006, researchers reported that randomized controlled clinical trials involving the TNF alpha inhibitors Remicade and Humira showed a dose-related increased risk of cancer development. Another research group reported increased risk of developing lymphoma, which is a cancer of the blood, with the use of TNF alpha blocking drugs. Okay, wow. And so just to review, the TNF alpha and IL-1 are the inflammatory toxic cytokines that play an important role in the destruction of cartilage in osteoarthritis. We must not negate the benefits of these drugs in treating severe cases of rheumatoid arthritis. What I am proposing is using safer nutraceutical approaches whenever possible. Rankle inhibitors. Rankle is an important enzyme system found in bone that is responsible for the proper maintenance of bone mass and of remodeling. Activation of Rankle receptors activates bone cells called osteoclasts, which break down bone. Its action is opposed by osteoprotogerin, OPG, which blocks osteoclasts. Other bone cells, called osteoblasts, are responsible for building new bone. In order for the body to maintain proper bone density, it is necessary to keep a finely tuned balance of osteoblast and osteoclast action, which is controlled by the OPG Rankle chemical enzyme system. Okay, wow, let's go. Okay, so activation of Rankle receptors activates bone cells called osteoclasts, which break down bone. Its action is opposed by osteoprotegerin, OPG, which blocks the osteoclasts. Other bone cells called osteoblasts are responsible for building new bone. In order for the body to maintain proper bone density, it is necessary to keep a finely tuned balance of osteoblast and osteoclast action, which is controlled by the OPG-RANKL chemical enzyme system. Researchers have found that both immune cells and bone cells contain RANKL. The activation of RANKL, I really want to know what it stands for, though. Let's see if it's back here. Nope. Okay. Researchers have found that both immune cells and bone cells contain RANKL. The activation of RANKL by white blood cells in arthritis is thought to contribute to the bone loss observed in patients with arthritis. Drug companies are trying to develop drugs that block RANKL in order to prevent cartilage breakdown in the treatment of osteoporosis. Because TNF and RANKL are involved in the normal bone remodeling, using drugs to block them in order to treat osteoarthritis can be expected to have detrimental effects on bone. This may result in creating brittle, hardened bones that are prone to breaking. Oh no. Oh no. In an effort to control cartilage damage, the result may lead to the development of bone diseases. Drugs that target INOS and NADPH oxidase. Researchers are attempting to develop drugs that target INOS, the enzyme involved in the formation of nitric oxide, an inflammatory compound involved in cartilage damage. We're at page 134 of Osteoarthritis by Peter Bales. Nitric oxide is a powerful oxidant that triggers inflammation and oxidative stress in joint cartilage. Nitric oxide has different effects in different organs in the body. It is beneficial in the blood vessels, but detrimental in joint cartilage. Therefore, using a drug to block it may help cartilage while risking damage to the blood vessels. Oxidative stress is produced by oxygen-free radicals generated by mitochondria in the normal process of turning food into energy. Oxygen-free radicals in turn activate NFKB, which turns on inflammation genes. Drugs are being developed to target the mitochondrial electron transport chain, which produces energy, and the important enzyme NADPH oxidase. The potential risk is that by knocking out the important maintenance and energy producing systems with an indiscriminate across-the-board drug blockade is likely to cause serious side effects and unintended collateral damage. All drugs have side effects. Some drugs never make it past animal or human studies because of their serious side effects. Okay, this is ADAMTS inhibitors. Pharmaceutical companies are also targeting the ADAMTS enzyme system, attempting to design drugs that inhibit its normal functioning. The ADAMTS enzyme system is important for normal maintenance functions in the body. It has differing functions depending on the local environment of the organ it is found in, such as local acidity pH, biochemical environment, and its interactions with other active compounds. ADAMTS in cartilage has different functions than the cardiovascular system. While it may be beneficial to block ADAMTS in cartilage to prevent further breakdown, blocking it in the cardiovascular system is an unintended consequence of the drug. The use of drugs such as ADAMTS inhibitors in the treatment of osteoarthritis do not show great potential because they are likely to have many undesirable side effects. A drug that blocks out an enzyme system such as ADAMTS in a blanket fashion and indiscriminately across many different organs has great potential to produce unwanted side effects. These enzyme systems are important to many functions in the body. And across the board, inhibition by a drug is likely to cause collateral damage similar to those seen with the COX-2 inhibitors, Vioxx and Bextra. Many of these drugs are only in testing phase and their full side effects are not known yet. Rage-blocking drugs. Drug company researchers are attempting to synthesize compounds that will bind to and block rage receptors. This has the potential for serious and unforeseen side effects because rage receptors are a broad class of receptors that normally bind a large number of different compounds. If all the rage receptors in the body were blocked by a drug, the beneficial interactions between rage and its binding compounds would be negatively affected. A number of drugs have undergone early preliminary testing as inhibitors of advanced glycation and product formation, including the drug Alt-711, which is active in breaking down protein cross-linking, and the drug pyridoxamine, an aminoguanidine. Studies with these are too preliminary and results are not available yet. Biophosphates and osteoarthritis. Biophosphates are drugs that prevent the breakdown of bone and are normally used to treat osteoporosis. Researchers have used them in osteoarthritis in an effort to reverse some of the bone destruction seen with this disease. Biphosphonates. Okay, I'm so sorry. Biphosphonates are drugs that prevent the breakdown of bone. Biophosphonates. And are normally used to treat osteoporosis. Researchers have used them in osteoarthritis in an effort to reverse some of the bone destruction seen with the disease. It's biphosphonates. Biphosphonates block the increased bone turnover and excessively remodeling seen in the active stages of osteoarthritis. Okay. Okay, so biophosphonates prevent breakdown of bone and are used for osteoporosis. When used with osteoarthritis, they may reverse some of the bone destruction. Early research studies looking at biphosphonates as a potential treatment for osteoarthritis have mixed results. These drugs carry a number of side effects, including the recently publicized damage from bone cell death in the jaws of people taking the drug, as well as ulcers and damage to the esophagus and stomach. Manipulating leptin with drugs to treat osteoarthritis. Leptin resistance is a condition that affects many Americans who are afflicted with metabolic syndrome and obesity. A chemical compound called SOC3S is important in blocking the signal pathways of leptin. Pharmaceutical companies are developing drugs to target SOC3 in order to manipulate leptin in the body. We have learned that leptin is overproduced in those who are obese and in osteoarthritic cartilage by fat cells in the joint, playing an important role in promoting the destruction of cartilage in osteoarthritis. But drugs targeting SOCS-3 will likely result in collateral damage. Because drugs are known to cause side effects, they should be used only as a last resort for treatment. In this chapter, I have argued that drugs should not be the first line of attack on osteoarthritis because they will probably only treat symptoms while having significant negative side effects. According to current experience, osteoarthritic drugs will have no effect on altering the course of the disease. The nutritional manipulation of leptin outlined in this book is a much safer approach to take. Even simple caloric restriction has very powerful effects, with studies in animals showing that calorically restricted animals live up to 30 to 40% longer than ones that are overfed. Caloric restriction in rheumatoid arthritis patients was found to improve the inflammatory profile by decreasing leptin C-reactive protein, and the activation of white blood cells. The nutritional treatment of leptin resistance can reverse this metabolic abnormality without the side effects which are inherent in using drugs. Conclusions. The biochemical pathways involved in causing metabolic dysfunction, inflammation, and oxidative stress are interconnected in the body. Using drugs to target these pathways, which blocks them non-selectively and across the board in many different organ systems, is likely to cause serious side effects. Drugs will not provide a magic bullet cure for osteoarthritis. The indiscriminate action of drugs, through their blanket effect on particular enzyme system across many different organs in the body, is often accompanied by dangerous side effects. This chapter highlights the potential detrimental effects of using drugs to target enzyme systems in the complex biochemical pathways of metabolic and degenerative joint disease. The use of nutraceuticals and nutritional treatments has been shown by research to be a powerful and effective way of addressing metabolic dysfunction. Future research needs to focus on better defining and validating the use of these new and exciting treatments. The indiscriminate action of drugs in blocking a particular enzyme in many different organs other than the intended organ is a major drawback of drugs and also the reason they are plagued with side effects. Natural substances such as nutraceuticals decrease NFKB, but not as powerfully as drugs do. This more moderate inhibition of NFKB by nutraceuticals causes them to have less side effects compared to drugs. Active nutraceuticals that have been shown to block NFKB include alpha-lipoic acid, vitamin E, curcumin, which is the main thing in turmeric. Oh wow. And what does the NFKB do? Let's go back. So this is like why turmeric is so good for your joints. NKFB, what is this? The chemical intermediate cell that transmits inflammatory messages from bad prostaglandins to the DNA in our nuclei. Oh, okay. Okay, active nutraceuticals. Okay, curcumin, green tea bioflavonoids, yay, and resveratrol in red wine. The omega-3 fats, EPA and DHA found in fish oils are potent PPAR receptor activators that are much safer than drugs. And for me, as a vegan, I would be going for flax or walnut or olive oil. Overall, the current research on the use of MMP inhibitors in joint cartilage diseases has not been promising. The toxicity of these drugs highlights the potentially grave effects of using drugs to block MMPs in the treatment of osteoarthritis. The nutritional approaches to limiting the formation of AGEs and blocking RAGE receptors outlined in this book are much safer. Nutrition, Part 3, Nutrients Beneficial to Our Joints. New genetic research is unraveling the mysteries of osteoarthritis. The effects of nutrition on our genes. Whew. This is so good. This is page 141. Let me see how many pages the whole book is. It's over at 218. So what do you think? Should I read 77 more pages? Oh, you know what would be really fun is to read the glossary. Shall we? Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, that's a list of inflammatory compounds. Ha ha ha. And then a glossary. Quite a lot longer. Ooh. Okay, let's read the list of inflammatory compounds and see how we feel. Advanced glycation end products, AGEs, sugar-coated proteins formed by excess blood sugar that trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, and cartilage breakdown. Arachidonic acid, an omega-6 fat that is produced in the arachidonic acid pathway. A diet high in omega-6 fats leads to the formation of increased inflammation in the body. C-reactive protein, CRP, a blood protein that becomes elevated in states of increased body inflammation. Erythrocyte sedimentation rate, ESR, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, a blood protein that is found to be elevated in states of increased inflammation in the body. Homocysteine, a chemical biomarker that, when elevated in the blood, indicates increased inflammation in the body. Elevated homocysteine can result from low B complex vitamin intake and predisposes individuals to heart disease. And just side note, alcoholism depletes B vitamins, poor nutrition depletes B vitamins, stress depletes B vitamins, and then depleted B vitamins essentially target your bones. So interleukin-1, as well as your liver and everything else, and your brain. Interleukin-1, IL-1, an inflammatory cytokine that has an active role in cartilage breakdown. Ooh, I don't want cytokines. They sound mean. Interleukin-6, IL-6, an inflammatory cytokine that has an active role in cartilage breakdown. Interleukin-1 beta, IL-1 beta, an inflammatory cytokine that is involved in cartilage destruction in joints with osteoarthritis. Leukotrienes, inflammatory chemical compounds produced by cells. They are overproduced and harmful when we consume excessive bad fats in our diet. Nitric oxide, a chemical produced in cartilage cells during states of increased oxidative stress and stimulates cartilage breakdown, but I am so fascinated that it keeps the blood vessels open. So you need a little nitric oxide, but not like a ton. Okay. Omega-6 fats, a group of fats that leads to increased body inflammation when consumed excessively compared to healthy omega-3 fats. The classic American diet has increased omega-6 fats, which predisposes individuals to heart disease, high cholesterol, and increased inflammation. TNF-alpha, a protein that increases inflammation in the body. It is an important inflammatory chemical messenger that causes cartilage breakdown in our joints. VEGF, an inflammatory compound found in increased amounts in arthritic joints. Ooh, I don't think I've gotten to that one yet. Chemical messenger. Okay. Glossary. Abdominal obesity, fat stored around the belly. Acetyl L-carnitine, Alcar, a naturally occurring chemical which can be used as a supplement to decrease oxidative stress or the rusting, in quotation marks, of our organs. When combined with another chemical, alpha-lipoic acid, it decreases damage done to cells by free radicals and the aging process. ADAM-TS, a disintegrin-like and metalloprotease with thrombospondin motifs, a family of many enzymes which are cartilage degrading. ADAM-TS4, a cartilage degrading enzyme that has an active role in osteoarthritis. Adenosine triphosphate, ATP, the chemical compound a cell uses for energy to power itself. Food is converted to energy in the body in the form of ATP, which is then used to carry out the chemical reactions in the body by providing the energy needed to build and maintain our organs. Adipocytokines, fat-derived hormones that control fat and sugar metabolism in the body. Leptin and adiponectin are adipocytokines. Adiponectin, a hormone produced by fat cells whose levels are decreased in obesity and which plays a role in osteoarthritis. Adrenal glands, organs that sit on top of the kidneys and regulate the fight or flight stress responses in the body by producing the hormones cortisol and adrenaline. Decreased in obesity. Advanced glycation end products, AGEs. Sugar-coated proteins formed by excess blood sugar that trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, and cartilage breakdown. Aggrecan, a major protein component of our three-dimensional cartilage framework. Aggrecanases, Enzymes found in cartilage that degrade cartilage by breaking down the protein aggrecan. Alpha lipoic acid, a chemical compound found naturally in vegetables such as spinach and broccoli. It can be taken as a supplement, and it is an effective antioxidant that decreases the accumulation of damaging free radicals in the cells. Anthocyanidins, a class of pigments that gives plants their color and are powerful antioxidants. Ah, cool. Antioxidants, substance that prevents the reaction of chemicals in the cells with oxygen-free radicals. This reaction causes cells to become oxidized and rancid. Antioxidants prevent the formation of rust in cells and help to fight oxidative stress. Arachidonic acid pathway, a set of chemical reactions in our cells that convert fats from our diet into chemical messengers called prostaglandins, which affect the inflammatory status of our bodies. Arteries, blood vessels that carry oxygen-rich blood from the heart to the rest of the body. Articular cartilage, the cartilage in our joints that cushions the joint and allows the joint to glide smoothly. Atherosclerosis, a condition caused by increased clotting and increased inflammation on blood vessel walls, leading to the buildup of sludge that blocks blood flow. It is known as hardening of the arteries. Automated DNA sequencers. The process of determining the order of nucleotides, GCAT, on a DNA segment. The fragments of DNA are labeled using fluorescent dyes, and a laser beam is passed over them. The color of each dye-labeled fragment is then determined with the use of a computer. This automated approach increases the speed by which DNA is analyzed. Avascular necrosis, a loss of blood supply to the bone that causes the bone to die. Avocado soybean unsaponifiables. ASU. This compound is obtained from chemical processing of avocado and soybean oils, and it has powerful anti-inflammatory effects on the treatment of osteoarthritis. Shout out to avocado and soy. Woo-hoo. Beta carotene, a compound that forms vitamin A. Carotenes give carrots their orange color. Bioflavonoids, natural colorful pigments found in fruits and vegetables. They are powerful antioxidants and have anti-inflammatory properties. Biologic potentiality. This refers to the fact that our genetic makeup is influenced by the environment and nutrition. Our genetic predispositions are not set in stone. Biomarkers, chemical compounds whose measurement in blood or organs is used to diagnose certain diseases. Okay. Biphosphonates. I see why I'm doing that. Biphosphonates, drugs that prevent the loss of bone and are often used to treat osteoporosis. Body inflammation, an unhealthy chemical state in the body of which one major cause is a diet containing high levels of sugars, empty calorie carbohydrates, and unhealthy trans fats and saturated fats. Body mass index, BMI, a numeric guide used to classify our weight as normal, overweight, obese, or extremely obese. The numerical ranges are 19 to 24, normal, 25 to 29, overweight, 30 to 39, obese, and 40 to 54, extremely obese. Bone mineral density, BMD, a measurement of bone thickness or mass of our skeleton. A low BMD predisposes to easier breaking of the bones and is seen in osteoporosis. Bromelain, a protein-breaking enzyme found in pineapples, which is an inflammatory agent. Okay, I want some more bromelain. That would be great. Calcium ascorbate, a form of calcium supplement that also contains vitamin C. Cartilage, the cushion in our joints that is made up of cartilage cells. and a three-dimensional collagen framework. It allows the smooth gliding of two bone surfaces past each other in order to move the skeleton. Cartilage cells, cells that produce the cartilage that cushions our joints. Cartilage oligomeric matrix protein, COMP, a breakdown fragment of cartilage matrix that is indicative of cartilage destruction. Catalase, an important detoxification enzyme that is responsible for the eliminating toxic substances from the body. Cell membrane, a barrier which surrounds a cell and separates it from the outside environment. It receives chemical signals from other cells and transmits them to the DNA in the nucleus. Cells, the basic units of life that make up the organs in our body. Cetyl myristoyl CMO, a chemical compound that decreases inflammation in osteoarthritis by blocking the COX and LOX enzymes in the arachidonic acid pathway. Chemical intermediates. These are often harmful chemicals produced in the detoxification process, which needs to be eliminated by the body in being converted to non-toxic compounds. Chondroitin, a nutraceutical that is beneficial in the treatment of osteoarthritis. It is normally found in cartilage and gives it a lot of its compressive strength. It makes up the aggrecan, which is a major component of cartilage. Chromium picolinate, a chemical substance that can be taken in supplement form and promotes the proper functioning of the hormone insulin in regulating our blood sugar. Coenzyme Q10, a chemical compound that helps mitochondria convert the food we eat into energy. It can be taken in supplement form, and it has antioxidant properties, protecting cells from damaging free radicals. Collagen, the structural backbone of cartilage that becomes fragmented when cartilage is damaged in osteoarthritis. Collagen synthesis. Cartilage cells synthesize the three-dimensional structural protein which makes up the bulk of the cartilage. Cortisol, a hormone produced by the adrenal glands that is involved in regulating the stress responses in the body. The stress response occurs when we face a certain danger, and it results in increased blood pressure and heart rate. Chronic stress produces chronically elevated cortisol and has damaging effects on the body. COX-2, an important inflammation-producing enzyme in the arachidonic acid pathway. It produces inflammatory or bad prostaglandins that lead to pain. The non-steroidal anti-inflammatory Vioxx, which was pulled off the market, works by blocking the COX-2 enzyme. C-reactive protein, CRP, a blood protein that becomes elevated in states of increased body inflammation. Curcumin, that might be right. Most commonly found in turmeric, the Indian spice curcumin, I don't know. Indian spice used to make curry. It is a powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and blocks the production of cartilage-degrading matrix metalloproteinase enzymes. And I went through like a whole thing of it. I've been like inhaling turmeric, even though it's Cytokines, chemical messengers that transmit signals to our cells. IL-1 and TNF-alpha are bad cytokines that increase inflammation in our bodies. Cytokines, chemical messengers that transmit signals to our cells. IL-1 and TNF-alpha are bad cytokines that increase inflammation in our bodies. There are good and bad cytokines, and while the bad cytokines increase inflammation, the good cytokines help to decrease inflammation. Degrading substances, chemical substances in the joint that break down cartilage. Detoxification enzyme systems, systems in cells that clean up toxic buildup. When our diets are unhealthy, these enzymes start to malfunction, allowing free radicals to accumulate and cause damage. DHA, the beneficial omega-3 fat found in fish oils from cold water fish such as salmon and sardines. Diastolic blood pressure, the lower number in the blood pressure reading. In the case of the blood pressure of 130/80, 80 represents the pressure in our blood vessels in the resting phase of the heart when it is not pumping blood. Disease-modifying benefits. The ability of a nutraceutical to reverse or to stop the progression of the osteoarthritic damage in cartilage. Oh man, this is long. What a long glossary. I might be getting tired. Where are we? An hour? Ooh. All the way to xanthines, chemicals found in teas and coffee that stimulate the brain and relax the blood vessels. Just maybe I need some more xanthines. Veins. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to start from the back. So this is the end of the glossary. I hate to say I'm chickening out of this. Can I remember to come back to DNA and glossary? Can you guys help me remember? Look, we've read more of the book than is left. Okay. Oh, I'm so confused. Which way should I start? Should I start? Do you want me to keep reading? What's a break? Wait, I thought we were at DNA. Oh, we are. Okay. Yep. DNA. Okay. Okay, where's my bookmark? I don't know. Okay, well, see you later. We're going to start at Chapter 13, New Genetic Research is Unraveling the Mysteries of Osteoarthritis, the Effects of Nutrition on Our Genes, Epigenetic Modification, okay, and then we'll start at, and that's on page 141, and then we'll also start, when we get back to the glossary, 226, DNA glossary. Okay, and I'll see you later and have a good day.